Hi, everybody, and welcome. My name is Neil Crilly. I'm the West Region Senior Director for the Recording Academy, and I manage, along with my team, the Entertainment Law Initiative for us. And I'm joined today by a great group. I'll run through who's joining us, and then we'll get going. We have Laurie Soriano, who is our chair of the ELI Executive Committee. She's also a music lawyer and partner at King Holmes, Paterno, and Soriano in LA. Ken Abdo is joining us. He is also on the ELI Executive Committee, and he's our writing contest program chair. He's an entertainment lawyer at Fox Rothschild LLP, which has offices in New York. He hails from Minnesota. We have two former student winners of this competition who today are practicing attorneys, but they're also quite recent winners. We have Cameron Berkowitz, who is our 2019 winner. He's today an attorney at LaPolte Law PC in LA. And finally, we have Sophia Sofferman, who is our 2021 writing competition winner, last year's winner. She is currently legal counsel with Remus Entertainment. So I also want to just give a shout out to my great staff who help us produce this event. It's Jess Pickett, it's Luke Savage, and Patricia Aridia is also helping us out today. Thank you, guys. So we have a little program here where we're going to talk with both those that grade these papers in this program and can tell you more about what makes for a great paper. And we're also going to talk to students who have gone through these two winners I mentioned. So be sure and keep an eye also in the chat for links and information throughout the session. I'm going to put some things in there that will be useful for you. And you can also submit any questions you have in that Q&A box. And we will get to those at the end of the session here during the Q&A. So with that, let's get rolling. And I would like to welcome Laurie Soriano into the screen here. And so she can tell you some more about the program. Hi, Laurie. I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks very much for attending this session. I'm at my office here in LA, so you may see people walking by. It's actually in person here at my firm. And welcome to everyone for this year's ELI conference contest info session. I really encourage all of you law students who are watching this to participate in this contest. It's really an amazing opportunity to meet me and Ken and so many of our colleagues in the entertainment world who really want to help law students find their way into a career like ours. I can tell you it's a very satisfying career. And it's just a great way to meet the whole music law community, throughout the nation. It's also a really great opportunity. There's a prize of scholarship money, but also there's a mentorship opportunity as part of the prize that's really invaluable, again, in helping you get the kind of career going that you're looking for. For both the winners and the runners-up, we have the mentorship opportunity. We've had some great success stories. In fact, a year ago, I did this info session and interviewed the winner from 2020, Christopher Chang, and I'm happy to say that he's now an associate at my firm. I just was telling him at lunch that I was going to be doing this. So a year later, here he is, an associate at my firm that I met through this process. The 2019 runner-up, Asha Madukar, she got her job at Counsel LLP after meeting associates at the ELI Grammy Week event. And she also became more involved with the Recording Academy, and she currently is involved in the San Francisco chapter of the Academy as a governor. And of course, the winners that we're going to be speaking with today, 2019 winner Cameron Berkowitz, who currently works for LaPolte Law, Dina LaPolte's law firm, which is an amazing firm here in LA. And that's thanks to a connection he made during the Grammy Week event as well. And finally, last but not least, this year's winner, Sophia Sofferman, who is now legal counsel at Remus Entertainment. So she's an in-house lawyer at an independent record company, independent publisher, and management company. Also, Sophia and others who win the contest get the prestige of having their paper published in the ABA journal, the Entertainment and Sports Lawyer. The ABA, by the way, is an official co-sponsor of the ELI writing contest. I also would like to encourage all of you students to join GRAMMY. That's a way to connect into the academy and into the music business. You just join for $50, and that carries you all the way through law school. So you become a member for the $50 through all your years through graduation, and then an additional 2 years, so quite a value. And we've dropped their website and Instagram handles into the chat. Okay, I'm going to turn it back to Neil to give some more information about the writing contest.
Yeah, thanks, Laurie. You know, and it's worth noting that we have success stories going back, you know, about through the 17 plus years that we've been doing this competition. Really been a great connecting tool for students that join us and participate. So I'm going to run through some of the basics on the competition, the contest, the rules. So it's the contest is open to JD, LLM, or joint JD, LLM candidates that are currently enrolled at any U.S. law school, whether it's ABA approved or just another non-ABA approved school in the U.S. It's not open to JSD or SJD students, and it's also not open to already licensed attorneys who returned back to, you know, an advanced program like an LLM program. Also, previous winners and or finalists are not eligible, so someone can't, you know, grab this twice. So you do need to be enrolled as a law student as of January 1st, 2022 for this year. So in other words, right before the papers are due. So as to the papers, so they are, what you're doing is writing a paper and Ken is going to talk a little bit more about the details on this in a moment, but of a topic of importance to the music community. We want the papers to be no longer than 3,000 words, excluding endnotes and footnotes. Okay, so those could be in addition. We want entrants to use the Blue Book, a uniform system of citation for citation style. And please pay attention to the specifics in our rules regarding font size, and so on, so we have uniform papers submitted. There's some really awesome stuff that, in addition to the connections, you know, obviously one of the highlights, a $10,000 tuition scholarship paid to your law school that can help you there. A couple of tickets to several events, the Grammy Awards themselves, our Person of the Year, which this year we're honoring Joni Mitchell at that event, and of course at the Entertainment Law Initiative Grammy Week event itself, which happens the same day, by the way, as MusiCare. So we do include round-trip airfare for you and guests to LA. And as mentioned by Laurie, publication of the paper in the ABA journal, and also a mentorship session where you can really, you know, speak one-on-one with one of our executive committee members. 2 runners-up will receive $2,500 tuition scholarships and be recognized also at the Entertainment Law Initiative Grammy Week event. And if you can make it there or you happen to be in LA, you're certainly going to get tickets to that event. We do not travel the runners-up. You will also receive a mentorship session, though, as a runner-up. So some really good stuff. It goes without saying that the connections and people you might meet are probably the best thing about that. These are the basics, very simple. 10 a.m. on January 4th. Our deadline, that's 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern for the paper submission deadline. Just like you might experience in a law class that you have, we need those papers to be in on time, and we, in fairness to all of our entrants, we need to apply that uniformly across the spectrum. So please don't submit a late paper, because we'll have to reject it out of fairness to all the students that are submitting. So 10 a.m. sharp Pacific time, January 4th, so the papers are due. So then in about 10 days later, we will have completed the grading process and we'll let our winners and runners-up know. We'll book the travel for the winner. And as I mentioned, these other dates you see there are the dates for the events that you can attend. I definitely want to mention that there is a special $100 ticket price for students to attend the Grammy Week event, regardless if you're a winner or runner-up. We would love to have you join us. It's a nice thing you can do. The crowd is amazing, and connections are at a premium. So papers are graded in a blind two-grader process. We have a group of about 40 practicing attorneys and attorneys who are in academia that grade the papers. Each paper is stripped of your name and your institution, so that there's a totally fair scenario going on. Like I say, they're graded by two different graders whose scores are averaged to set your score for your paper. We then gather the top 10, and we do a second round, exactly the same way, blind process, two graders to determine the winners and runners up. In addition to recognizing our student winner and runner up at this event, we do recognize a significant entertainment attorney who works in the industry. We're just about ready to announce who that will be. We keep your eyes on our webpage at grammy.com/ELI. It's obviously a highlight to be there. We have some other great content at that event as well, keynote content that is valuable and interesting for everyone. So let me now turn it over to Ken Abdo, who will talk a little bit more about how the papers are graded, the criteria, and some other good info for you. Ken has served for many, many years as the chair of the ELI Writing Contest, and from the very beginning, in fact, and it's a wealth of information. So Ken, join me on the screen here, and I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this auspicious preparatory program. I'm going to get right into the rules, and the rules are hard and fast. I'm actually going to read them so you know what to do. So all essays must be original works, specifically written for the contest. Previous published works are not eligible. The submission of works previously written for academic purposes are acceptable, provided that the work is edited to meet the guidelines of the contest and is not identical to the prior academic work. Co-authorship of the essay is not permitted. Papers may be reviewed by law school faculty or colleagues for editorial feedback, but such assistance may not rise to the level of co-authorship. So here's what the essays will be judged on. Here's the beauty contest rules. Clarity of expression, organization, clarity of presentation, spelling, and grammar. These are all a little bit subjective, but some of them aren't, like spelling and grammar. Originality of thought, the uniqueness of the topic. Here's, you want to make sure that you're, not in outer space, it's got to be relevant. And that addresses the next two rules, the depth of analysis and the relevance to the industry. Would not recommend that you be talking about issues that have already been beat up or that are antiquated. Relevance and correctness of any cited authority. We all took legal writing. We all learned how to cite cases. So this is, and other authorities. So this is where you show your prowess. The essay requirements, whether the essay conforms to the contest entry requirements that Neil referred to, including word length. And usually it gets kind of bottlenecked on the top, and we're looking sometimes for ways to distinguish certain essays from the other. And if one is over the top and didn't get caught the first time in terms of word length, it'll be booted out. So just make sure you're within the parameters of all these essay requirements. All right, you can find a download and PDF of the full rules at grammy.com/ELI, and I'm going to send it back to Laurie for the next segment.
Thanks, Ken. So I'm going to chat with the lovely Sophia Sofferman. I've gotten to know her a little bit through this process. She's an amazing young lawyer who is currently practicing, as we earlier discussed, with Remus Entertainment, an in-house role where she's a lawyer in an entertainment company. So let's bring on Sophia. Hi, Sophia.
Hi, Laurie. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming. So let's talk about the contest. First, could you just sort of briefly describe what you wrote about?
Sure. First of all, thank you to the Recording Academy for having me and for all of the opportunities that came with this award. My paper entitled It's My Recapture Right and It's Now or Never is about an artist's recapture right and how a musician's use of their loan out company or furnishing company to grant an assignment of their sound recording to their record label could potentially preclude them from recapturing their sound recording 35 years later pursuant to the statute. So I proffered proposals that could potentially allow an artist to recapture their copyright pursuant to the statute, exploring the notions involving original authorship as well as corporate law.
Right, and that's Section 203 of the Copyright Act, right? The termination right under that provision. So let's discuss how you came up with that topic, because I know for most law students, that's going to be the tricky thing, is how to find something that has relevance to the music business.
Yes, well, the topic was precipitated when I read an article in the Hollywood Reporter about a class action litigation going on in the Southern District of New York by artists alleging that their copyright termination notices to their label so they could recapture their sound recordings were being systematically denied. I then looked at the case, pulled the court documents, read the transcripts, and was sincerely interested in the case, which is important. I then looked up other papers addressing the issues and implications of artists using loan outs or furnishing companies. And while there was a lot written about the implications of artists using loan out companies, there wasn't a lot written about loan outs in direct correspondence to this case, hitting directly upon the implications of an artist's right to recapture their copyright. So to me, it was ripe. And it really started out as a topic that I was passionate about. And that passion evolved into me researching the topic, writing the paper about it, because I was so interested in the issue and the nuances. So I really encourage anyone looking for a topical topic to read or subscribe to Digital Media Wire, Digital Music News, Law 360, The Hollywood Reporter, Variety, and other entertainment news outlets. And even if it's not an entertainment law publisher per se, do your issue spotting on what could be a compelling issue facing the music industry. And if it is an entertainment law issue or case, do a deep dive, research the topic, see if it piques your passion, because you're going to be living with it for a couple of months.
Yeah, why don't you tell us about how long it took you to write the paper, starting with reading randomly and doing research and getting to the final paper?
All in all, it took about 2 to 3 months, but I did a lot of research. I was in school full time, interning for a boutique entertainment law firm and working as a business consultant for an independent record label. I finished my finals and I used my entire winter break to complete the paper. I did a lot of researching and outlining and then started the writing process because I wanted to make sure it was a strong and clear work product and that all of my ideas were really focused.
And then last year was the one year that this was a virtual event, but what was that like for you? Was that a good time for you?
Definitely. The 23rd annual ELI event was a great experience because it gave me exposure and credibility. I was able to talk about my paper with Ken Abdo during the event. Also, because it was virtual, everyone could get an invite, friends, family, colleagues. My paper was recognized before so many entertainment attorneys and other talented individuals within the industry. And BSLA was being honored with the 2021 Service Award. I was then able to connect on LinkedIn and by video with other industry professionals. And that was really nice to also have calls with them and calls with students from around the country.
Great. I mean, so did you feel that doing ELI helped you launch your career?
Without a doubt. Winning this prize was an incredible opportunity. Someone who's put themselves through school, the scholarship money was so helpful, and having the ABA Law Journal publish your paper is humbling in itself. I got the opportunity to work with GRAMMY, so special shout out to GRAMMY and all the reps and the members there. I had the opportunity to moderate a panel with entertainment law attorneys I so admire, Susan Janko, Dina LaPolte, and Shay Lawson. So it's definitely been a valuable and paramount experience in setting me on my career path.
We only have a minute left, but do you have any advice that you'd want to share with anyone who is considering participating?
Definitely. So not only is this a conversation starter with fellow students, professors, attorneys, but it's a chance for you to have a writing sample that you're proud of and a way to show your passion and dedication to the issues involved in the music industry right now, because there's a lot of them. I'm not going to lie, it's going to take a lot of time, hard work, dedication, self-motivation, and passion, but it's so worth it, because regardless, you are putting yourselves in the conversation. By entering this contest, you are giving yourself a seat at the table, and you don't need anyone's permission because you're writing about an issue that's important to you in your heart. You can use your creativity to think of a solution, and the solution doesn't have to be perfect, by the way. Just well thought out, well written, cite your sources, play it safe, but have fun. You're all in school, so you can invest in yourselves. It'll take time, but you'll be a part of something bigger than yourselves, something that explores topics pervasive in our industry. And that's really what being a lawyer is all about.
Totally agree. So I appreciate your passion and your insight. Thank you, Sophia. I really appreciate all of that. So we're going to turn it over now to Ken. Ken?
I'm going to kind of pick up and talk with another former winner. Cameron, you are online, and everyone can see you. There you go. Cameron Berkowitz. So how did you go about selecting your topic, Cameron?
Well, first of all, thanks, Ken, and thank you to the Recording Academy for having me. So my paper was called Streaming in the Free Market, Releasing Songwriters from the Compulsory Mechanical License. And what my paper did was address the issue of disproportionate payments to songwriters and publishers by DSPs with respect to interactive streaming. And essentially what I did was propose a way to get around the government regulations that keep these payments so low so that songwriters could negotiate their rates in a free market through an opt-in collective licensing entity.
Have you been tracking that issue, Cameron, since you wrote about it?
You know, it's interesting because the issue was partially addressed by the Music Modernization Act, which was coming about around the time that I was writing the paper. But those government restrictions on mechanical licenses and on performance licenses are still in place. So my paper, in a sense, sort of took the goals of the MMA and took them a step further, if that makes sense.
When you wrote it, were you aware of the MMA and that this might be a part of the MMA?
I was, yeah, and in the paper I actually touched on the MMA and how, you know, the goals were sort of aligned, but the way that things were done differently. And, you know, the thing about my paper is it's kind of a heavy goal with all the stakeholders involved. It's unlikely that, you know, with the administrative and legislative changes required to make this happen, it would happen anytime soon. But I wouldn't let something like that discourage you from selecting a particular topic, you know, as far as describing a music industry that you would like to see at some point.
Yeah, I'll just pick up and say I think this is an important part of the interview, because what you did is you picked on a very relevant topic, and that's the point. It was something that people were like, well, where's this going to go? You know, this is being addressed, but how might it come out, and what's your analysis? And so you were really prognosticating a little bit and making some recommendations at a very relevant time, and I think that's why it was a strong candidate. All right. How long did it take you to estimate to write your paper? I mean, you probably can just say ditto to our prior winner, I suppose. But did you find it was abusive or manageable, or just some short comment about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo what Sophia said. It took me probably 2 to 3 months. I also had a faculty member review it, which, you know, I recommend if you have that opportunity. That definitely helps. And yeah, I mean, it was about 2 to 3 months. You could kind of treat it like a, you know, 2 or 3 unit class. It's sort of that level of commitment.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it, which seems frightening to me at this stage of my life. But at any rate, so tell us about your experience at the event. I know that you, because I was there with you, you had a big smile on your face that only a plastic surgeon could remove. Why don't you tell us about maybe some highlights for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a once in a lifetime experience. You know, I don't know if a lot of the students know this, but the music law community is very small, and a huge portion of that community is at this event. So you get your name out there, you get your face out there. Getting a job in music is to a large extent based on relationships. So this is an extremely great way to build those relationships. And also, it's just really cool to get to go to the Grammys and the Music Care event. So, yeah, absolutely a once in a lifetime experience.
Sometimes it's more about who you know than what you know? Well, we know that participating in this event by prior testimony, we know that it was helpful for your career and helped you get a job, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my current boss, Dina Lapolt, was the recipient of the Distinguished Leadership Award the same year, and we had met once briefly, but obviously we got to connect further through this event. And even today, sometimes I'll be on the phone with an attorney from another firm negotiating a deal, and they'll say, "Oh, hey, you were the winner of the ELI contest a couple years ago, weren't you?" So people in the industry take it really seriously, and they remember.
That's great. All right. Any other advice you would give a student who is considering participating in the contest?
I'll again echo what Sophia said about just trying to stay up to date on relevant issues in the music industry. I think she mentioned the Hollywood Reporter, Digital Music News, Music Redef, Billboard. At the time that I wrote this paper, I was reading all those sources every day or every other day, and it really helps you just sort of become familiar with the issues that people in the industry are actually dealing with. Another thing I'll say is I had actually applied the previous year and did not win. So if you're a 1L or a 2L and you enter this year, I'd highly encourage you to try again, because even if you don't win, it's still a great experience writing the paper and learning something about a topic that you're passionate about.
That's good to hear, because that means you put in double time at the big time you said you had to put in. So I'm glad that paid off for you. Well, great to see you again, Cameron. We'll see you out there on the field. Maybe we'll see you at ELI this year. Same with you, Sophia. Good to see you as well. I'll be there. And congratulations again on your burgeoning careers to both of you. All right, I'm turning it over now to Laurie and Anil, and I think I'm staying on as they join.
You've heard some thoughts from our past student winners and how that helped them launch their careers and so on. And we thought it'd be interesting for you to hear from our two very experienced ELI committee members and longtime entertainment attorneys to talk a little bit about their career path when they started out. And I don't know, maybe I'll start with you, Laurie, since we were just hearing from Ken. Maybe you could just tell everyone, what school you went to and what your path from school to getting your first gig was, kind of thing.
Well, I went to UC Davis School of Law, very chill, kind of relaxed kind of place to go to law school, which was excellent. I was able to do law review there. I was actually the editor-in-chief of the law review. I learned to write really well by the end of my 3 years, and I think that's been invaluable to me as a music lawyer. I took every bit of classwork I could that was relevant. So copyright, trademark, legal writing, anything that was available. And I would recommend that to any law students. I went to, after my second year of law school, I went to Manat, Phelps and Phillips as a summer law clerk. And I was hoping that I would have an opportunity with the music practice there, and I bonded with that group. Then I actually did a clerkship after law school, which was an incredible experience, to being in sort of the head of a judge, helping a judge on the Ninth Circuit make his decisions and write his opinions. And I feel like that was actually very helpful to making me the lawyer I am now. And then I started at Manat. I actually litigated for a year before they had a slot in the music group. So I want to tell everyone out there, you don't have to just go direct to being a lawyer like me working at a law firm representing artists. Litigation was actually incredibly helpful, just in grounding me as to how the legal process works. And so that when I do have litigation now with my artists, I know what to do with it. But anyway, so I was 17 years at Manat. I was then at another music boutique, and I've been at my own firm, King Holmes, Paterno, and Soriano for 10 years. So representing talent, artists, songwriters, producers, largely in some small companies. So it's been a great journey and one that I highly recommend.
Terrific. And you've been on our Entertainment Law Executive Committee for a few years, but I know you've come to the ELI event. Did you Did you feel like that was, a good experience for you as a practicing lawyer as well, the years that you've come to the event?
Absolutely. It's an incredible, especially for a lot of these kids on Zoom, they don't understand, but back in the old days, it was very hard to actually even see what someone looked like. So I'd be dealing with the label lawyers and the music publishing company lawyers for years without seeing them in person. So the ELI event gave us a chance to actually, get to know people that we were doing deals with. And it was just like Cameron said, it's actually a small community, and it's almost like a kind of a family feel to the event. It's so many old friends and just all kinds of different connections that everybody has. So I couldn't recommend it more. It's just a really great way to sort of understand, the whole body of our industry as music lawyers.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that so much. I think, and Ken, you're someone that's served as an elected leader with the Academy out of our Chicago chapter back quite a few years ago, and have been involved, like I mentioned, with ELI from the very beginning. Maybe you could talk about your career path.
Well, I'll try to make my comments relevant to where the students are and to this program. I first want to say that I just echo what Laurie talked about, your writing skills. You're on this Zoom. You're on this Zoom for some reason. This is not arbitrary, and you probably like to write, or you're really super interested in the general area. And I would say that's the same kind of interest that probably brought you to law school to begin with. Something brought you there. Something brought you here. So act on that. Follow that. You heard Cameron say he had to write twice. Like an artist or anybody else in this business, it's really there's only one common trait, and it's not intelligence. It's perseverance. And I went to a decent law school. I went to Harvard actually for a day, visited, nice place, had lunch, left. But my law school was Midwest Law School. It served me well. I passed the bar. I wasn't summa cum everything. I did write for the Law Review because I like to write. Like Laurie, it was an interest to me. I was a songwriter before that. I went to law school. I was a musician and a songwriter, and I guess I'm not a very good one because I went to law school. But that was my vocation. As it turned out, being a counselor, and music remains my avocation. I was able to do this out of Minnesota and Minneapolis. I split my residence between Minneapolis and Nashville. And I spent a lot of time in LA over the years, in New York. I'm lucky because our office, the Fox Rothschild office, actually has 27 offices across the U.S., including all the major music cities. But the deal is that, some adages that I would give to you, if you have a firm that you go with, that you don't get into an entertainment firm right away, you can learn entertainment law, and you can get into the swing and get into the community alongside of doing something else. I did everything I did criminal defense work, I did divorce work, I did real estate work, I did litigation. I thought God wanted me to be a litigator, and he was wrong. And I ended up becoming a transactional lawyer, but I really didn't like law school that much, folks, and I really didn't like practicing law that much either when I came out. It was just a lot of getting used to and trying to find your lane. And I was able to find my lane where I was able to, merge my vocation and my avocation. And my law firm, which had a number of family members in it, were understanding, and it allowed me to build it alongside of these other things that I need to do to become a better lawyer. So, I think my track has been a little unique because I still remained out of Minnesota and was able to make a living doing this kind of work. I work primarily with artists. I always have with the creatives. I'm not really a company guy. I work on the creator side. That's my point of view of most things in this business. And so most of the lawyers that I know aren't litigators. They are people like Laurie who are transactional people. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Once again, you are on this Zoom for a reason. I'd say give it a go, give it your best. And by the way, you might find that the work that you do, that you write, if you win or don't win, it can be repurposed for other, academic or non-academic things. For example, I got known because I wrote a lot. I published stuff. I lectured a lot. And another adage I like to say, I kept showing up, and I didn't go home too early. And that's another thing about being there, being in the swim and being in the community. So, there's no downside to education, and so take advantage of it.
I just want to mention that I think that Ken makes a great point about being from Minnesota, and the idea is if students are from cities other than, say, LA, New York, Miami, Nashville, whatever, especially given the way the world is now, you can really do this without being in one of those major music cities. It's definitely a little more of a challenge in some cases, but especially with the Grammy organization having the Recording Academy having local chapters in a lot of areas, a lot of cities, it gives you an opportunity to engage with the music industry on a local basis. So that's something that Asha, one of the winners, had pursued, and something that we would recommend to students is to engage with your local chapter.
Yeah, look, at my benedictory remarks will simply be, get involved in the community. You heard Neil say that I started volunteering early on in the Recording Academy, I was a voting member because of my prior released recordings, but I got involved, became a governor of the Chicago chapter, then became a trustee and got involved with ELI along the way. And the American Bar Association, same thing. That kind of organization kind of made me. These are open to all of you to get involved. You just got to keep showing up and getting involved.
Yeah. Connecting to people in the industry is what we hope we can do every day at the Academy for sure. And you've heard some reasons or ways to do just that. But, the best one to start is the Grammy U. I got to mention that with the Grammy U membership, if you join while you're still a student, you get 2 years free after you've graduated as well, and you can get invites to all the events that we do across the nation. So on. Let me also bring in one question as to finish out this segment. Then we're going to bring Cameron and Sophia back in for our last Q&A stuff. But there's a question here. Can you repeat the courses you recommend to take for entertainment lawyers? So they're wondering, they're in their first, they're a 1L, and they're interested in entertainment and sports law, but unsure what courses to take.
I think it's going to depend on what's offered by the school, because I think, like, say, UCLA here in LA and some of the other schools here in LA will offer more, but I'd say definitely copyright and trademark and any intellectual property survey course. If there is a music law, like a music transactions course, that would be great. And Ken, I don't know if you have any other suggestions, but everyone has to take contracts, which is good because you do need to know a little bit about contracts. Ken, any other?
I mean, the intellectual property classes for sure. Everything else, I think, is just learning how to learn. But the broad, labor law is good. You learn stuff about it. There's just, I don't know. The IP is a must. Other than that, just follow where your interest is.
And I will tell you that when you represent an artist the way I do, just mostly just artists, you're a general counsel of that artist. So you need to know a little bit of everything. So any class you take in law school will end up coming into play in some fashion, at least for issues.
Like tax. You don't have to take tax anymore. You should take tax. It's scary, but it's really important to know.
It is.
Securities is good. Estate planning is good. I work with a lot of estates now. I do a lot of estate planning work with legacy artists. It's all good,
All right. Well, let me invite Sophia and Cameron back in here so we're all on screen and we can we'll take some questions. Here's one I can easily cover. It's how many people usually apply? So the answer is good news if you're interested in entering, because it's not that many. We usually see somewhere in the zone of 60 to 100 entries into the competition. So it's not like you're facing, hundreds and hundreds of other people. We would love to grow that, of course. We would love everybody to enter that has the time to do it. We'd certainly encourage you to do that. But anyway, it's in that zone. The next question, and I'll maybe ask both our former winners here to touch on this too. It says, if we are going to start it now, do you think we have enough time, even with finals coming up? So what I would say to you is just one thing is that because our event occurs during Grammy week, and because we need to grade those papers before and, hopefully get our student out to the event, we probably would have preferred to have our deadline for papers be before the holidays season. But we have a very, very wonderful group of attorney graders that have allowed us to give everyone the holiday season, all the students that would like to enter, to write this paper. So I know that's at least a question that I can say we did adjust that on purpose to try and give students more time. But what do you guys think, Sophia and Cameron, about, hey, it's November 4th. You have enough time?
Yeah, I think so. And just to echo what everyone here has said, it's important to do it regardless and go through the process. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really not all about winning. It's about going through those steps. And honestly, when I got the call from Neil that I had won, it was far after the deadline. I didn't think I won. And at that point, I didn't have any regrets. And I chose to put my efforts and energy during the pandemic towards something that I was passionate about. And I took a risk and invested in myself. And it would have paid off whether I had won or not won. And so I say at this point, if you're interested in doing it and you're thinking about it and you're here, go for it. What do you have to lose?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I definitely think it's doable. You know, you're probably gonna have to do a lot more work in a short amount of time, but you know, if you're okay taking a few hours away from Netflix and putting them into writing a paper, then do it.
Yeah, I was just going to say exactly that. It's kind of like building your entertainment law practice. You know, you're working big hours. You have to get business. You have to learn more about. You got to do it in your extra hours. But there are things that you maybe sacrifice a little bit in the short term for the long term. Also, these are not law review articles. Okay, they're not notes. They're not. You don't have to have every comment supported by authority. You know, it's an essay. You know, it should be a little more free thinking. You don't have to do any hardcore research. You don't have to edify your reader from, Genesis all the way through Revelations. You know, you really, just don't bore us, get to the chorus. And you can support that, then with with a decent authority, you're in. You've got as good a chance of winning as anybody, as long as you don't misspell words.
Great. Well, thanks all. So another question we have is, would you recommend transferring into a law school that specializes in...
You're saying, sorry, you cut out for a second. You said the question is whether you would recommend, we would recommend transferring to a school that has more entertainment related offerings.
Yeah, or a specific program.
One thing I will say, especially when people come back to in person, is that I think people in the cities that do have a music industry, LA, Miami, Nashville, New York, being in a school that is in one of those cities does give you a lot of internship opportunities. And I do think, just based on what I've watched, and I think it really helps people. A lot of the associates at my firm have done internships at record companies, publishing companies, et cetera. So I do think that aspect gives you an advantage. And I think if you go to a law school that literally doesn't have anything beyond like the very, very basic IP classes, I think there's something to be said for being in a school that offers more. But I don't think that'll be the issue that stops you from being a music lawyer. You know what I mean? You can go to any law school, unaccredited, or not like Harvard to whatever. It doesn't matter if you're a good lawyer, if you're passionate, as Sophia says. I think passion and hard work are really what count for the most.
I want to echo what I'm echoing myself many times saying the word echo, but I'm echoing Laurie again by saying that, look, if you're playing the probabilities game, if that's what the question is about, then yeah, you got to go to a city where there's some kind of a music industry, because then you'll be swimming in those waters. You'll meet those people who make more contacts. It's more probable than not that you'll make a good connection than if you're like where I came from, where like nobody is. There's a real advantage if you're playing the probability games of not only schooling in an area that has a music industry, but moving to that area as well. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that people stay in Minnesota if they wanted to be an entertainment lawyer, if you're playing the probabilities game.
Yeah, I think general advice is to go to school where you want to practice as well. And we know what typically the entertainment centers are. So that's advice, I think.
Well, let me tell you something else. People take right turns all the time. I went to law school to become a litigator, and I didn't like it. And I did it. I tried jury cases, and I said, I want out of here. You can be thinking right now as you're writing this, I'm going to be an entertainment lawyer. You might end up being a hell of a divorce lawyer or something. The point is that you're you might not even become a lawyer. You might just go, this is like not for me at all. No shame in any of that. It's a vocation that requires that kind of long ball commitment, not short-term commitment. So this could just be a part of your journey to figure out what you want to be when you grow up as well, which is helpful.
So we've got quite a few other questions. Let me get to some of these. The next one is, if we find an error after submitting, could we resubmit an updated paper before the deadline? The answer is that we do accommodate that as long as it's before the actual deadline. The next one is, would we be able to get feedback on our papers after being graded? We have experimented with provision in the past, but it's tricky to administer. So I would say that if a student requests it, we could find out if the grader is willing to provide feedback. We can try, but we can't guarantee that will happen. The next one is, could the winners share the resources, websites they use to track relevant music-related issues?
Yeah, I can share a few. I think Sophia or myself might have mentioned these. Billboard, of course, is a great one. There's a section of Billboard. I think it's billboard.com/biz. It's all music business related things rather than, just general music entertainment related things. Hits Daily Double is great. There's one called Music Redef that's like just a single paragraph in your email every day of all music industry related things. Digital Music News, Variety, Music News Worldwide is another good one.
How did you guys narrow down your topic throughout your research? Did you feel like you knew your topic right away? And there was just a related, what would you say separates papers discussing the same topics? Anybody could jump in on those.
I mean, I think it's probably best to start with the issue that you're trying to solve. And then as you're researching, trying to find your proposed solution to that. Certain things that you find, might make you think of a different way to solve it, or, just a way to hone it down. But I would definitely recommend starting with the issue, starting with the problem, and then trying to get to the solution.
Yeah, I agree. There were a bunch of different issues that piqued my passion, and then you have to kind of make a decision, like, what is the most ripe topic? What doesn't have, as much written about right now? What is current? And what are you passionate about? Because you really have to be passionate about the topic as well. Cameron's paper has so many different nuances. So I know that he was so passionate about it as well. So I would really I made a lot of mini outlines of like what different topics that I was going to explore, and I just went from there.
Great. Got another one here, which is Sophia and Cameron. Did you also have a professor review your paper, since this is allowed?
Yeah, I know Cameron said he did, and when he said he did, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, like I forgot to mention, I did as well, and it's really helpful because there were times when I'd shoot the idea by someone, and an attorney even, and necessarily didn't understand it or thought it wasn't the best idea. That will happen. And what Ken talks about with perseverance, and what Laurie talked about, which is going for it, that's so important. I know Asha Madukar and Christopher also talked about that at the last info session. And I thought about those moments when I was writing my paper and I was running out of steam, or I was thinking of something that was complex and I couldn't necessarily think about the words always to describe it. So it's helpful to have, an advisor or someone who's kind of like, feels like they're on your team and able to be helpful from that retrospect.
Here's one that might be good for you, Ken or Laurie. Is there a topic that you all usually see continuously repeating? I think we would all appreciate if we could choose a topic that's not overdone. I don't know.
Well, every year there seems to be a topic du jour. There's a topic du jour that's just it's on in our trade media, and it's discussed a lot. The MMA, the Music Modernization Act, was a big number for a long time. Termination rights were a big topic for a long time. I mean, I think that I think to say that you should steer away from those is not a good idea. You just want to do a good job of taking an essay angle on it, because that's what people are interested in reading. One guy wrote about socializing music, like taking it out of capitalism. It was like this incredibly gutsy, out there thing, and he supported it. And it was like, why even writing about this? Like, this is never going to happen. But he wrote it in such a way that it was really interesting essay, as opposed to being a topic du jour, and it worked. He was
and I would say this year there are going to be all kinds of topics du jour, because the pandemic has created its own set of issues. This year, NFTs and cryptocurrency related issues in the music space. Those are du jour kinds of things. I want to read about those, and I like law students who actually understand that those are relevant right now and know that people like me would want to read essays on them. Chris Chang, when he interviewed with my firm, with my partners and me, he had written and had not won the first year on the Napster case. My firm had handled that, so that was perfect. And then the second year he wrote on the blurred lines copyright infringement case, which my firm had also been involved in. So that was like, okay, you're in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hey, that's a great note to bring out is, see, Christopher actually entered the competition twice, and he went through the experience the first time, didn't get discouraged, wrote it again, and ended up winning. So we love to see that.
And both papers helped him get a job.
Right. Apparently it did. So yeah. Extra bonus for sure. So we got a few more good questions here. So we're going to run a little over just to make sure we answer everybody's thoughts here. We have one that says, what would you say separates papers discussing the same topic? That's a tricky one, more in your zone, graders, Laurie and Ken.
I review all the finalist papers, so I'm lucky because I get to read the top scorers, and I think it's style. Most of the you're not going to be getting up to that upper echelon if you're not writing accurately about something, or if you're not supporting it correctly. But there is a style side to it that it's really as unique as one's personality. And I think that you shouldn't feel afraid to insert a little personality, a little point of view, not not make it a literary work or a comedy work, but there's room for style.
Right. All right. Next one is a paper about the entertainment industry more broadly okay, or should it exclusively target music only?
I'd keep it to music.
Even though we're called the Entertainment Law Initiative, it's in the Grammy family. So the Grammys are about music. So I think that's your best bet.
Relevance. That's one of the rules. Relevance to the music industry.
Right. Are there any specific journals that are best to review for finding sources and/or finding a topic?
Billboard. I think when you look at the Billboard is a real dragnet of what's going on in the music industry. It's not like what is the legal issue du jour, that you might see in one of the trades like 360 or other legal reporting sources. So Billboard, I'm a big fan of reading Billboard, or there's a lot of other online stuff, but I just like the way that Billboard handles the whole continuum of music issues, and really it's a way for you to get to know the players, the people, the songs, the charts. All that is part of the grist of being in the music industry, and it's worth it to when I first started reading it, I didn't understand half the stuff, maybe 9/10 of the stuff they were talking about. But after about a year, I got to know them, and then the community better that way. And then once I started showing up, like Laurie was saying, you just knew faces, and you didn't really know faces, you knew names and reputations. That was really helpful. But I think that's where you might find better inspiration than dry reporting on cases or that are kind of escalating through the courts.
All right. Well, I've got one last one, and thank you all for the great questions. This last one is: do essays that touch on more technical topics score better than those that are more theoretical?
Don't know. Jump ball. That's what I would say. 50-50. Technical, theoretical. That's all legit. That's all good stuff, but I can't say one is favored over the other.
I know that, from what we hear from Sophia and Cameron, for sure, that having passion for your topic is very important. And it's so true. You want to dig into all corners of it and, find something. I think the only other thing I would add in the bigger picture here is that finding something that's very current is always of great interest to the community, from what I've seen, to our music legal community. So
Well,
All
something
right.
interesting, because when you're a reader and you're reading it, you don't want to sit there and go, look, you mistake me for somebody who cares. You want to, the lawyers want to hear the stuff that law students will write about that they would never write about because they're not getting paid to write about it. This is it, like, give me something that's new, fresh, interesting, out there, useful in the thought, and but don't write it for yourself so much. I mean, you have a reader on the other side, and so give us something that we can go, that's pretty interesting, like that.
Yeah. Terrific. Any other last thoughts, Laurie? And I'm going to close us out here.
I would just say, as a practicing music lawyer and somebody who's hired a lot of lawyers, attention to detail is so important in a lawyer and a good lawyer. And so just read it over. And I'm sorry we're sacrificing your holidays, but just read it one last time and clean it up, because there are too many typos and misspellings and grammar and punctuation problems. It's just even if you're brilliant, sometimes it's hard to see through to that if there are too many errors. So just take that extra thing, or have your mom do it, just to proofread it.
Have another law student read it, to see, did you get it? Did you understand? What I'm talking about? Did I miss anything? Because that's an audience, And by the way, are my commas in the right spot? So.
Yeah. Good advice also for any career in the music industry or pretty much anything else. All right. Well, thank you so much, Laurie, Ken, Sophia, Cameron. You guys, really appreciate you giving your time today. We're going to drop in the chat a little. We have a social toolkit that, got some Instagram, and all the different social channels, materials you can post. If you want to spread the word about it to your fellow students, to those across the country, please go check that out at our webpage there. And I just want to thank again my staff, Jess, Luke, Patricia, for helping us do this. And we appreciate you all attending. Thank you, everybody, and good afternoon and good night wherever you are.
Thanks, Neil.
Thanks all.
Thank you.